The Academy Awards are still 5 months away, but Oscar buzz is already in full swing. Countries from around the globe have submitted their entries for the Best Foreign Film Award. This year, 92 nations are represented, some of them for the very first time. Here's our review of this often overlooked category.
Between 1947 and 1955, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences presented honorary awards to non-Hollywood film productions. Around this time, Italian director Vittorio De Sica was the jury favourite, taking the special prize twice with his neo-realistic pictures Shoeshine and Bicycle Thieves.
A che punto avrò sbagliato strada?
A proper competitive category for non-English speaking films was introduced in 1956. The Academy's romance with Italian cinema continued. Filmmaker Federico Fellini left his mark in the competition's history as the only director to win it a record number of 4 times with the dreamlike fantasy films he made. The Best Foreign Language Film Award's main importance lies in giving exposure to filmmakers seeking a wider audience. Directors including Akira Kurosawa and François Truffaut received international recognition and financing after winning Oscar glory. The category also had its fair share of controversy last year. Iranian director Anousheh Ansari, who had won the award with his social drama The Salesman, refused to attend the ceremony in protest against the US immigration travel ban. This year's competition is packing a record number of 92 participants. Syria, which was affected by last year's travel controversy, has a nomination for the first time with Little Gandhi. The production focuses on late activist Ghiat Muhtar. The UK chose the Urdu language film My Pure Land for its submission. It tells the true story of 3 women in rural Pakistan who have to defend their home against 200 armed mercenaries hired by a relative who wants to forcibly take the property from them. Turkey also opted to submit a movie recreating real-life events. Ayla revolves around a Turkish sergeant fighting in the Korean War who finds a half-frozen 5-year-old orphan. After taking the girl back to his army base, they form a bond despite not sharing a common language. This year's award will be handed out at the 90th edition of the Oscars in March at the Dolby Theatre in Los Angeles.
Now, to dig deeper into the foreign film category, I'm joined by film critic Ali Arikan in our New York studios. Ali, the UK submitted an Urdu film. Angelina Jolie is representing Cambodia. Syria has an entry, but not in a film category, but a documentary category. So, as you can imagine, this could be very confusing for the audiences. Can you kind of give us a little idea, shed some light on the submission guidelines for the Best Foreign Film Award?
Well, sure. Thank you. The guidelines are fairly straightforward, actually. What they say is the films submitted for the Best Foreign Film Award have to be in a language different from, predominantly different from English, which means that over 50% of the film has to be in a language different. In a different language. This has obviously created some sort of problem in the past before, especially with films like Waltz with Bashir, and this year it could have created an issue with Robin Ostlund's The Square, for example. But the language has to be different. It has to be something other than English. And also, the film has to be made, the controlling power of the film, the creative power behind the film has to be from the country it is being submitted. So Angelina Jolie, obviously American, but apparently it turns out that she had dual citizenship in Cambodia. How fortunate. And so her film is now Cambodia's submission for Best Foreign Film.
Now, in the past, the Foreign Film Oscar might have given a boost to, non-Hollywood films, but in today's competitive market, can these kind of productions even survive, the multiplex culture, big budget Hollywood films? Is there room for the small film?
Well, even in the past, I don't think a Best Foreign Film Oscar turned these films into major hits anyway. I think, generally speaking, there is a bit of a crisis in Hollywood with regard to smaller, and by small I mean medium-sized films for adults. Smaller indies always find some sort of platform, whether it's streaming or smaller art house releases, and major multiplex releases obviously are all over the world at the same time, bringing in the big bucks. But generally speaking, obviously, these films in the past, anyway, never quite became monumental hits. An Oscar obviously increases their chances of being seen elsewhere in the world, and it has been so in the past, and it's even more so important now.
There's a cachet that comes with an Oscar award-winning film,
Oh,
right?
of course, yes.
With moniker. Human stories seem to be a common theme among this year's submissions. Even if they don't get proper wide releases, do you think being nominated in this high profile can, like you mentioned, give them a little boost?
Well, hopefully. I mean, hopefully people are more interested in human stories and, or the tragedies that these stories showcase, like the name of your program, because of the tragedies themselves, rather than the films. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and hopefully people do watch these films, and then they start reading more into it. For example, this was the case with films like Act of Killing, or the Square, about the Egyptian Revolution in the past, or Born into Brothels, which was a foreign film but won for documentary, very similar to Little Gandhi. And obviously, it does make people more interested in these issues that the films show.
Last year, there was a big controversy. Iranian director Asghar Farhadi boycotted the Oscars due to the travel ban. This year, that travel ban has been expanded. Do you anticipate more nominees will use their platform to have their voice heard?
I think more nominees will definitely use this platform this year because of President Trump. I think there's going to be a lot of anti-Trump outrage, but there's going to be other sort of outrage that has been bubbling under the surface, especially with regard to the Weinstein sex scandal. Obviously, we found out yesterday about allegations about the film director James Toback. I think that sort of stuff is going to be more in the forefront than just the travel ban. I think there's going to be a very anti-Trump message in the Oscars. It's still very early, but you don't need to be Nostradamus to foresee that.
Great talking to you, and thank you for your time.